The demise of the small-town independent hardware store will surely rank as one of the greatest tragedies in American history. After years of scientific research, I have observed a correlation between the demise of the hardware stores and the rise of depression. When Baker's hardware store in my hometown closed in 1988, it plunged hundreds of men into a depression from which we've still not recovered. We talk about it on Saturday mornings at the courthouse grounds. Boy, I sure wish Baker's hadn't closed. The men around the table stir their coffee. A veil of sorrow descends over the coffee shop. They all agree it was a crying shame. There is, in Roachdale, Indiana, a hardware store of unparalleled excellence. The owner is Charlie Riggle, a fitting name for a hardware man. Every good hardware man I've ever known was named Charlie, Leonard, or Hank. Charlie is walking sunshine and a balm to the spirits. A stream of men move through his store at any given time, walking the aisles, studying the merchandise. One gets the impression they aren't looking for anything to buy so much as needing an excuse to spend time in such an agreeable place. It is a town of hard workers where loafing is frowned upon and must be disguised as a trip to the hardware store. Roachdale Hardware Store began life in 1900 as Bowen Hardware. It has wooden floors and a working 1949 Coke machine from which you can still purchase a bottle of pop for $1 dime. Due to the ravages of inflation, you also have to put 75 cents in the plastic bowl on top. On my first visit to the Roachdale Hardware, I spied a cased jig-bone Autumn Blaze baby butterbean knife and bought it. I'd gone knifeless for 33 years, and the weight of it in my pocket was a pleasure. I carry my pocket knife with me at all times, and have been in a better mood ever since. The experience of buying the knife, of studying the various knives in their clean rows, hefting each one, testing its weight and balance, was so satisfying, I bought 21 case pocket knives since. The Roachdale Hardware holds other fascinations: a 1906 rain or shine buggy in the front window, an antique rolling ladder Charlie climbs to reach the air filters. These various ingredients, while singly unimpressive, combine to form a pleasant stew. Charlie is the whole show at the Roachdale Hardware. When he and his wife go to Michigan for a week every summer, the place closes down. The prudent customer anticipates Charlie's absence and schedules his household emergencies for when the hardware store is open. I've met some hardware store owners who lack discretion, who blab stories of home maintenance mishap all over town. But Charlie back there is the picture of discretion, as tight-lipped as a priest after confession. Once while I was there, the same man returned 3 times in the span of an hour, a tragic figure, cursed by a home repair project that had gone south. "What's his problem?" I asked Charlie after the man had left. Charlie pretended he hadn't heard me and deftly changed the subject. My admiration for him soared. There is a moral sturdiness to Charlie that isn't advertised or boasted about, but is obvious to all who know him and quickly discerned by those who don't. I cannot separate Charlie from his store. One without the other would seem incomplete, like a nut without a bolt. It's their sum that is crucial. The hardware store is the community shrine, and Charlie its high priest, with all his sacred duties: counselor, comforter, confessor, and friend. I am a congregant, one of Charlie's flock. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of home maintenance, I fear no evil, for Charlie is with me. His advice and unflappability, they comfort me. Home Depot would pay millions to replicate the native wisdom and goodwill one finds at the Roachdale Hardware or any other small-town hardware store that dots our land. This is why we men at the courthouse grounds still grieve the death of Baker's Hardware these many years later. We know what we have lost, and it wasn't just a store. It was our sanctuary. Some of us came here to preach and others to listen. Now it is gone, and we are pilgrims wandering in the wilderness, seeking our promised land. The memory of Hardware Fellowship spurring us forward.